Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. I'm Jeffrey Kuberstein filling in for Harrison Graham. On today's show, I wanted to look at some potential Mavericks draft targets with the number 58 pick in the NBA draft. The Mavericks have the 58th pick in the draft because of the sign-and trade with Grant Williams in the 2023 NBA offseason, so that pick is via the Boston Celtics. And it'll be interesting to see what the Mavs do with this pick. So let's just jump right into some Mavericks draft targets. Number one is obvious. It's going to be Bronny James, of course. Look, we know that the Mavs have concrete interest in Bronny James. That's not according to sources. That's according to Rich Paul, the man himself. Bronny had an up-and-down season at USC. Obviously, suffered a cardiac arrest before the season began. Didn't start playing until January. Averaged less than 5 points. Shot less than 30% from three. But his name is Bronny James, so he's going to be in the draft. If his name was Bronny Johnson, would he be a draft pick in the NBA? I don't know, but we do know that the Mavericks have interest, so we'll see what happens there. I'm not sure that the Mavs are going to trade up for Bronny. I don't know if they're going to make any sort of move other than Bronny being at 58. If Bronny is available at the 58th overall pick, the Mavs will take him. However, the Lakers pick at 55. That's where I expect Bronny to end up, and LeBron James will end up there as well. I want to ask you this, though. Do you want Bronny on the Mavs? I've asked you a couple of times, and I think the answer is a pretty resounding no, but let me know down in the comments what you think. Type Y for yes, type N for no, and this will be the pinned comment on today's show. So when you get hit with the YouTube ad break, go on down there and get your votes in. Number two, Trenton Flowers, the guard out of Australia playing with the Adelaide 36ers. Flowers is a guy who is a little bit of a project, played professional over there in Australia. I always like when you have a couple of draft targets that have played professional ball overseas. I really do think that's an important part of development in the NBA. Decent stats for the 36ers, came off the bench about 13 minutes a game, 36% from three. This guy's just really raw. Also, that hair is like crazy. That's some Anthony Black. Him and Derek Lively could be hair twins. That would be cool. But he's a project at the end of the day. And that's kind of what you're looking for at 58 anyways, is a guy with high NBA upside who you may be able to just play in the G League for a couple of years and develop his game there. And hopefully by the end of year 2 and year 3, he can actually help you on this team. The Mavs have had kind of success before with Australia with Dante Exum and Josh Green. Ryan Brokoff, if you remember him, he came over from Australia. So the Mavs have gone down this route before. Wouldn't surprise me if they went down this route again and found themselves a professional player from Australia. So keep an eye on Trenton Flowers as a potential Mavs draft target. If you're ready for the 2024 NBA draft, go on and get this sick Mavs draft hat. The draft hats are really cool this year, man. I really like what they did. Shout out to our friends at Fanatics for hooking us up. If you want a Mavericks draft hat, go to chatsports.com/MavsDraft. That link will be in the comments and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/MavsDraft. Shout out to our friends at Fanatics. Go get ready for the 2024 NBA draft today. You can't be looking like a bum out there on these streets watching your favorite team and who they're going to pick. So go ahead and get hooked up with our friends at Fanatics. Number 3, we have a local product who we talked about earlier this week on the channel. It is Emanuel Miller, the forward out of TCU. Miller really intrigues me as a potential target at number 58. Even if you don't get Miller at 58, I think as an undrafted free agent, the Mavs should make him a priority. I really like Emmanuel Miller's game. He got better every single year in college. Started out at Texas A&M, then moved over to TCU. 16 points a game last year. He shot 39% from three. That's the best that he has shot all throughout his college career. I really like his two-way ability. He's 6'7", about 210. He has an NBA wing body, and I think he can defend at a pretty high level, 2 through 4. And if you're able to knock down that corner three at a high clip in this Mavericks offense, they will find a way to play you, because that is what the Mavericks offense is going to be. It's a lot of drive and kick. It's people trapping Luka, so it's finding the open shooter. If Emmanuel Miller can knock down that corner three from 22 feet, I really believe that he's going to have a future in this league. And why not with the Dallas Mavericks? At least if you don't draft him at 58, go test him out in the summer league as an undrafted free agent and see what he can do. Join us for all of the Mavericks off-season coverage. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll be covering the Mavs from the draft to free agency to the summer league, training camp, and more. So please stay with us. We're Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. Myself and Harrison Graham are bringing you Mavs coverage basically every day all throughout the 2024 NBA offseason. So please stay locked in and hit that sub button today. 2 more draft targets to go after. Number 4 is Oso Ighodaro, the forward out of Marquette. Oso's he was a big player for Shaka Smart over there in Marquette. Now, he's 6'11". He kind of is a traditional center. He has a real inside game, averaged 13.5 points a game last year, 7 rebounds, which is a career high for him by far, 58% from the field. As you can tell, he kind of played exclusively inside. He has not made a 3 in his collegiate career. I don't think he's even attempted one, looking at his stats. Look, he's an old school center that the Mavericks already have 2 of in Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. Do you really need a third, especially when you have Dwight Powell on the roster? Probably for another 2 years unless you trade him. I don't hate it. At 58 as well, I like drafting experienced players, guys who have done it in college and in the pros before. I like guys that have played deep into NCAA tournaments because that's how you establish a winning culture with guys who have done it before. So that's kind of what I'm looking for there in Oso. I wouldn't hate this pick at all. Just a guy who's played a lot of basketball before and could come in and won't take that much of development. And then last but not least, Jaylen Wells, the wing out of Washington State. Wells is a guy who can kind of do it all as a guard. He has decent ball handling skills. He's not a great passer, averaging just over an assist a game last season at Wazoo, but he's a sharpshooter. He at 42% from 3, will play in the NBA. And if there's one skill that translates directly from college to the pros, I believe it's shooting. I know the three-point line is slightly deeper in the NBA than it is in college, but you're going to be shooting from those corners anyways where it's 22 feet around. I think Wells would be an interesting pick. Now, he's not going to help you right away either, but he's a guy that you could play in the G League again down there in Frisco with the Legends and let him develop his game at his pace because we know the Mavericks are in a win-now mode, so any guy that they take here at 58 is going to be someone that can either, number 1, help them win now and will be on the team immediately, or 2, they're going to be a development guy and they're going to take 2, maybe even 3 years in the G League. Go ahead and name a Mavs draft target down below. Name somebody that you think the Mavs could go ahead and draft down in the comments. Once again, here are our 5 here. I got Bronny James out of USC. I think he's the most obvious draft target that the Mavericks have. He's the one that has the most reported interest from the Mavs, and it sounds like, I don't know, Bronny James and Clutch Sports are interested in Bronny going to the Mavs at 58. We'll see what happens. Trenton Flowers, the guard out of Australia playing for the Adelaide 36ers. He's more of a project. Emmanuel Miller is a guy who I think could help the Mavericks right away with his two-way ability. Local product as well. We know the Mavs like to keep tabs on their local products. They always bring at least 1 or 2 in out of Summer League. So if the Mavs don't pick Miller, I expect him to be on their Summer League roster. Oso Udo, out of Marquette. He's a guy who is, again, he's a Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford type player, so he wouldn't play much on the Mavericks team right away, but he kind of fits that mold. And then Jaylen Wells, the guard out of Washington State, a real sharpshooter who I think could maybe help the Mavs right away in that aspect. So once again, name a player that the Mavs should draft down below. Why not Bronny James? I'll say that. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's show. Be sure to hit that thumbs up icon as well if you haven't already. And coming up next, we'll be covering all the latest news and rumors leading up to the NBA draft, which is just a few days away. So stay tuned to Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. Myself and Harrison Graham will have you guys up to date. We'll see you later.